Hey everybody, welcome back to Rusty Wrench Restorations. I've got a new series for the channel now. I'm going to continue to do my Saturday morning weekly uploads along with any kind of bonus videos throughout the week. But for the next probably 2 months, I'm going to add an extra video each week, and it's going to be kind of a retro restoration, if you will. So obviously we restore tractors here, and a lot of people have asked about previous restorations. What have you done in the past? What got you to where you're at now? So obviously I don't have a lot of video because I wasn't doing YouTube then as far as step-by-step processes and whatnot. But I do have a lot of video of me riding on these things as I finish them, or maybe even when I was going to pick them up. So these little 5 to 20 minute videos are just going to be kind of a start to finish of a project that I had done years ago. This first one coming up is going to be on my Lindeman crawler, and really because that was always my favorite tractor. That was my holy grail tractor, so I figured why not start with that one. It wasn't my first restoration, it wasn't the last one before I did YouTube, it's just a random one. I've been going through my external hard drive. Right now I have 13 different folders of different projects that I've done. There's probably about 20 or 25 tractor restorations I've done before I started the YouTube. So eventually you'll see those if you like watching them. So please comment below, do you want to see more of these types of videos throughout the week showing past restorations? And it's basically just going to be a combination of photos and videos, again, from when I picked it up to when I sold it or finished it. And it'll just have me narrating in the background, kind of explaining what was going on, what I found, what I ran into, those kinds of things. So again, nothing long and lengthy, just 5 to 15, 20 minutes or so. And it's everything from my Ford 9N, the Lindeman crawler, Farmall Cubs, John Deere B, you name it. So there's a whole bunch in there. So I'll try it out, give it a shot, see what you think. Like I said, if you can, comment below. Let me know if you like that format. It's not going to be a normal channel, type of media. Again, Saturday morning's always going to be what we're doing out here, plow days, shows, that kind of thing. This is just in addition to. So you're looking at a guaranteed 2 videos a week, possibly more. So we'll see how it goes. So anyway, hopefully you like it. This is the start to finish of my 1946 John Deere BO Lindeman crawler. Here we are, the first retro restoration. This was always my holy grail tractor that I've wanted since I was a kid, and honestly never thought I'd get the chance to own. So in this shot here shows a cover photo of a calendar from 1987. It was John Deere commemorating their 150th anniversary. And inside for the July month of the calendar, when I was 10 years old, I saw my first John Deere BO Lindeman crawler. It's that top picture there of the gentleman in the overalls and the scully cap, dragging an implement up a hill in an orchard. So yeah, July of 1987 was the first time I saw one of these, and who knew that 32 years later in 2019 I'd actually obtained this tractor. So again, here's just a closer view of that picture. It started around March of 2019. I was put in contact with a guy named Pat, about 4.5 hours away from me down in North Carolina. And Pat has, or had, several Lindeman crawlers. One being the one you see right here, which is the one that I bought. He's got another one that he had fully restored with electric start and lights. And he's got a third one that famous pictures going around with Jesse Lindeman, the man who owned the company, sitting on it. So John Deere made the chassis for these tractors, but sent them off to the Lindeman company in Yakima, Washington to do the crawler conversion. So as you can see in these pictures here, everything is just kind of painted green. He basically had bought it from an auction house in the years past and kind of just sprayed the whole thing green to help kind of protect and preserve it. In this picture here is when I got down there, and this was July 8th, 2019 that I purchased this from Pat. And there he is in the background there. So I had to rent a trailer because I didn't have one at the time that would carry the weight of this crawler, and I went down and picked it up. And my 32-year dream of owning one of these finally came to fruition. Now in this video, you can see I'm kind of a little bit confused with some of the levers. So I always joke around and say that to operate one of these Lindeman crawlers, you really need to be an octopus. So you have your hand throttle, you have a hand clutch, you have 2 hand-controlled steering levers, you have 1 gear shifter for 1, 2 in reverse, and then another one for high and low, and I think that was it. The choke was manual up on the carburetor, which you'll see in a further video down the road, but it can get a little confusing, especially when you're not used to it. This was a hand start, so it had the flywheel on the left-hand side to start. So you have a small cramped area to reach your hands down into to, turn this thing over to get it running. So anyway, this was my first time actually operating the crawler, and it was a little bit new to me, so it was a bit cumbersome trying to figure out which levers were for what. But as you can see by the look on my face, I've got quite a big smile, and it was an amazing experience. Here in this next video is me doing a cold start on it, and seemed to start and run pretty well, no major issues. And I had got some rubber pads from a friend of mine named Jared, whose dad worked at a paper mill, and they use these conveyor belts for moving pulpwood and whatnot. So split down the middle, made 2 nice tracks to be able to operate the crawler in and out of my garage without damaging my driveway. Alright, so now we have a picture of it on a different trailer. So I had bought this trailer as I needed something to carry the crawler around. It was a 18-foot car trailer, I believe. And this photo is July 13th, 2019. So if you remember, I told you I bought my lifelong dream Holy Grail tractor July 8th, 2019. So this is just 5 days later. This thing's loaded up on the trailer and going somewhere else. I had originally had no intentions of selling this thing. Again, it was a tractor that I had coveted and wanted to get my entire life, and never ever even dreamed that I'd even be able to own one. But I think I ran into some money issues or something came up, and I ended up selling it to another good friend of mine, Myron, and here he is sitting on the crawler driving it after we unloaded it at his place down in North Carolina. Now Myron, I've talked about him in other videos, is a international guy through and through. He likes international, Farmall, Cub Cadet, whatnot, and just for some reason wanted this John Deere Lindeman crawler because he knew it was kind of a rare piece to find and pretty unique. So I sold this, like I said, in July 2019 to Myron, and over the course of the next 6 months, I made myself sick over wishing I had never got rid of this thing. I wanted it back so bad. And Myron didn't want to sell it back to me because he didn't feel that he didn't want to deal with the money aspect of it, of selling it, buying and selling. But he was willing to negotiate and do a trade with me. So trading and bartering is something that I do a lot with tractors. And we made a deal, and I spent the next 6 months restoring these 2 tractors. The one on the left is a 1976 International Cub, and the one on the right is a I want to say 62 or 63 Cub Cadet Original. So I spent the next 6 months getting these two tractors, stripping them down, restoring them, new tires, new engine, overhauls, everything. And fortunately, Myron let me trade him both of those tractors to get my Lindeman crawler back. So here I am 6 months later. This is January 11th, 2020, and I've got the Lindeman crawler on another trailer. So I had bought one a little bit smaller. It was easier to navigate and keep in my yard, but still had the dual axle, so it was capable of carrying this crawler around. So again, that was January 2020. Here's a video of me unloading the trailer that day, getting it back into my garage where I thought it would again stay forever. So here she is in the garage, and not too sure what the next step's going to be. Do I restore it? Do I keep it as is? I had never ever restored or worked on a crawler before, so I really just didn't know what to expect. And at the time, I had just finished a restoration on a Farmall H, which you can see in the back of this photo here, along with a little John Deere 110 mower. So I was so ambitious at that time of doing restorations that I actually took on the feat of restoring multiple tractors at the same time. Nothing that I highly recommend to anybody and would never do again myself. So again, here's the Lindeman in the garage with the H, which had already been restored, and the John Deere 110 lawn and garden tractor in the background that hadn't been restored yet. Now this next photo, you can see the H is gone, and there's a John Deere 40 in its place. So I had traded my John Deere H to my good friend Duck for this John Deere 40 standard tractor. There's a little bit more of a story behind that, nothing to do with him, but someone else I knew and kind of had some issues, and we worked it out. But I didn't really want to just get rid of the H, but long story short, Duck still has the H to this day, and this 40 was on my plate for resto. You can see the John Deere 110 at the bottom. It's starting to get disassembled for another project, which again you'll see down the line in this photo and maybe again in another video, but let's not veer too far off the Lindeman. So it sat here in the garage for a little bit from January through February. So the middle of February came around, I pulled this thing out and I said, hey, I really need to start getting this thing restored. I was missing some of the track cover pads in the middle, which are cast like molds, I guess, that say Lindeman on it. So here's a picture of one of the cast molds. These things are very, very, very hard to find, as most people that have them want to keep them with their crawler. There were a few companies that were doing aftermarket castings of these, and I want to say they were, so there's 4 pieces total, 2 on each side. They kind of go together like clamshells and sit above the roller assembly on the undercarriage. And I want to say the aftermarket ones were $400 per side. So each of these castings were $200 each. So I was able to find these ones at an auction, but there was only 2 of them, and one of them was broken. So at least I was able to kind of get myself moving in the right direction. And at the end of the day, I ended up using these as garage art, and I got, I think they were covers from a John Deere MC, which are the same because the early MCs had the 3-roller undercarriage, but they didn't have Lindeman stamped on it. So I got with my good buddy Bruce at Blue Line Graphics and sent him pictures of these Lindeman text that are on these covers. And basically, you'll see in the photos later on as it's restored, there were just solid metal MC covers on those undercarriage rollers, and I had decals that said Lindeman. For your average person, they would never know the difference unless you were really a true enthusiast, but that was my way to solve that dilemma. So moving on, here in this picture here, you can see the tires for the 40 are in the background. I had that one on the side of my house. I was restoring it simultaneously. So I was doing the 40 already. I had already finished the 110 garden tractor. You can see it's completely restored, all new tires, and I converted the wide front to a narrow front. It was just a kit they had sold back in the day. So in this short time frame, I did the 110 project, fabrication, painting, restoration. I started the 40, and I was about to dive into the Lindeman. Why? I don't know. So here we are taking the tracks off. That was the first step. And that was on February 17th, 2020. I continued this process for 50 days. I completed the restoration on April 8th, 2020. So we'll just kind of let this scroll through some of the pictures of me taking things apart, disassembly. Here's the front idlers and the rails, the track pads, all rolled up against the wall. Again, here's just some more components, front idler assemblies, the hood. Here's where I started taking the 3-roller undercarriages apart to clean out. There are bushings that are in there. There's no bearings, so I completely disassembled everything, took out decades and decades of grease, grime, dirt, and debris, got everything cleaned down to bare metal, got everything primed, painted, and re-greased by hand. Here's me pulling the undercarriages apart. I didn't have to do anything with the engine on this crawler, as it did actually run really good, and there were no issues with the brakes or steering clutches. I did take them apart to replace bearings because a lot of the bearings were pretty bad. So here's the crawler up on the cribbing. You can see that 110 narrow front project in the back. Alright, so here's one I hate to admit. I was working on the final drives to replace the bearings like I had said, and one of them actually accidentally tipped over and fell on the concrete and snapped the top of the final drive casting. So these are not easy to find, and if you do find them, you're going to pay an arm and a leg for them. So I used my not so great welding skills and watched a bunch of videos and read a bunch of things, and I cleaned them up and got them kind of pinned how they needed to be, and basically did a bunch of preheating to get the cast heated up to temperature, and I did a bunch of little stitch welds. So I'd weld and I would apply heat to it so it would slowly cool to prevent cracking, and I was able to make a repair on the top of this left final drive housing. So again, here we got the you can see the rear final drives, both the left and the right are already back pretty much assembled and painted, getting ready to put on. Here's the front idlers, rollers, and undercarriage apart and wire wheeled, getting ready for primer. Alright, here's my my work area that you see now. Out on the side, I have all the yellow components, the rollers and idlers painted, and the green components. That tractor in the back there is not the 40 that I was restoring. That was a 420 that I had purchased up in Northern Virginia. Here's a paint process for undercarriage parts. Again, here's everything hanging from that lean-to. It just works really good. It's like a big mobile, easy to spray and shoot. Doesn't get any fingerprints or anything on there. And this picture here is all of the undercarriage components fully painted and dried, ready for reassembly. Again, I hand greased and lubricated all of these rollers and bushings with no other than the Lucas Red and Tacky. I was still using it back then. And here's the two undercarriages assembled, ready to roll under the frame. Here's the body of the tractor in my garage. I have tarps underneath and all the way around to prevent overspray and debris from getting all over the place. So again, at this point, everything was pretty much assembled. I didn't have to do anything with the engine, and I was able to just pretty much get it down to as bare metal best I could and get ready to prime. Here it is primed. Let that dry for a few days. You can see on the bottom of this picture here, I have my John Deere thinner, John Deere paint, and the hose laid out, getting ready to spray some green. Alright, here it is after I sprayed the green. I got the rear sprocket covered in plastic because that was already painted yellow, and the radiator had already painted the flat black inside. That's all taped off in green. So that was just a matter of peeling it off and you get back to the black radiator. But anyway, that's the chassis or the frame of it painted up. Here it is with the undercarriages reinstalled. This is kind of a neat shot, top view, with the hood off and the tracks off. You can kind of just see the major components of it. You know, the steering levers and all the drive sprocket, idlers, undercarriage. Now here's a good shot. You can see the MC roller covers for the undercarriage that I talked about with the Lindeman decals that were applied to it. So you still get the same functional look, but cost me about 1/10 of the actual price. So this picture here, it's pretty much complete. You can see I've got the decals on it. I even have the owned and restored by sign on there. So everything's done except for putting the tracks on, which is coming up. Oh, here's a quick shot of the track chains installed. So it's still up on the cribbing. I'm able to get the chains on, and I can roll the chain with it neutral to put each grouser pad on individually. If you watch my 430 crawler resto video, I did the same thing. You can see that 110 narrow front lawn garden tractor up there in the front, and I've now got the 40 moved into the garage. It's pretty much done except for the hood. So having completed a major fab and resto on the 110 and to do the Lindeman and the 40 at the same time, I'm telling you, I can't believe I did it. So here's a shot of the grouser pads for the tracks. Again, they're all hanging with zip ties from some ratchet straps in my lean-to, and just hope it's not a windy day because that's a lot of weight hanging. Here they are lined up in the garage, ready for assembly. If you notice, there's 2 larger holes in each pad and 2 smaller holes. The larger holes are the factory holes that hold those grouser pads to the chain or the rail of the track system. The 2 smaller 1/2-inch holes that you see are holes that I had machined in to accept the hardware for the rubber pads that I put on the tracks. So here you can see I'm installing each grouser pad and rubber pad simultaneously. Just did one side, worked my way around to the other. Alright, here I am taking it out for the first time, out in the driveway. Here's a couple street view shots. You'll see these with most of my tractors. It's across the street from my house. Kind of gives somewhat of a plain background. But I like to take photos from all angles. It's just pretty cool looking at it from the back like this. The black pads really kind of set off the green. In this video here, I started it with the choke on, and as you can hear, it sounds terrible coming out of the garage, and it's not until I just come out that I realized the choke's still on and shut it off. This one had a manual choke at the carburetor itself. This video here is one that you may have seen. I've done 2 shorts with it of me cruising down the road. I think it says cruising the streets of America on a crawler. And here it is lined up. The 110's done, the Lindeman's done, the 40's done. I think I'm just waiting on the tin work for the hood. So you'll see here in a few pictures, these 2 tractors tend to work hand in hand with each other. So here's the Lindeman out front. You can see the 40 to the left with the 2-bottom plow. That plow I've used over several videos with my 420, and my buddy Brian owns that right now. It's just a walk around video of the Lindeman.
Sounds good.
And here's a picture of my son with the Lindeman on the trailer. I think this is June of 2020. I was about to go down to a show in Elizabeth City, North Carolina, put on by a fellow club member and good friend Kent. Here's the Lindeman down at Kent's place for a summer show that we did. This was the first time I had taken the Lindeman out and shown in public. Here in this picture is at the end of the day. Most everybody left, and me and my buddy Brian are always the last ones to leave. We don't know. We shut down the parties. So that's his John Deere R in the background. Unfortunately, he doesn't have that anymore. But all right, here's another little family shot. There's Sweaty Betty, as always. She's been here forever and will be. I guarantee you that tractor will not go anywhere. There is a video that'll be coming up on Sweaty Betty of how she was put together with several tractors, and she did leave my fleet at one time, and I got her back. But that'll all be covered in another video, so look forward to that one. All right, here's a picture of a sad day. Well, for me anyway. So here's the Lindeman crawler, all loaded up on my buddy Billy's trailer. He drove down from Pennsylvania to buy this crawler for his dad. Amazing family, both Billy and his dad. Really good people. So this morning, this photo is the Lindeman loaded up on his trailer, And as you can see in the background, I have my John Deere 40 loaded up on my trailer. So when Billy left that morning to take that crawler back up to Pennsylvania, I left to take that 40 out to West Virginia to sell it to one guy, and then drove another couple hours to go pick up this. It's a John Deere 950 compact tractor. I love this thing. I used this the whole summer of 2020. It was after I retired from the Navy and before I started my civilian job. That's not for this video, but that's where the Lindeman went. The Lindeman went to Billy, the 40 went to another guy in West Virginia, and then I purchased this tractor in West Virginia all in the same day. So I don't play around. Stuff comes and goes. After I sold it to Billy, I started the YouTube channel and I did the 430 crawler. So after I finished the 430 crawler, I got contacted by Billy again, and he said, hey man, you know, you did a great job on the Lindeman restoration, and you did a great job on the 430 restoration. My dad and I would really like to have both of those crawlers. We'd like to have them as like the bookend set. The first green agricultural John Deere crawler made, and the last green agricultural 2-cylinder crawler made. They did the 1010 and the 2010 that were green, but not many of those. So regretfully, I ended up selling, not regretfully, but I ended up selling the 430 to him as well. But knowing that it went to that family and the two of them are together, kind of made it all worthwhile. So yeah, 4.5 years after I sold him to Lindeman, I ended up selling him my 430 crawler in December of 2024. So this picture here is just kind of a funny thing. You'll recognize this here when I show you the picture after this. But this is me driving the Lindeman crawler down my driveway, and you can see I'm wearing some tan pants and a blue shirt, and this picture got converted into the Simpsons picture. It's a thumbnail for this video, and that Lindeman crawler with me sitting on it with the tan pants and blue shirt is what I had for my sticker for many, many years when I was passing it out as a business card to look for, hey, you know, looking to buy tractors. So this one I had commissioned. I wanted the picture done up like the Simpsons of me driving through the yard, and here you can see Homer saying dope. So it's just kind of fun, and then it turned into, that was a sticker I used. So anyway, so that's where that sticker came from. It was actually a picture of me driving the Lindeman down my driveway. And this last picture here is just kind of a quick before and after. I don't have those for all of the tractors I've done, but you know, this one's here. So I don't know. I think that's about it. That's going to wrap it up.